I can't really say much here, because much of this is covered under NDAs, but to underscore every experience I've had with the extremely predatory database company has been terrible, but there is one I can share. In the early 2000s, we had a huge query that should have been idempotent, but every once in a while, it was returning the wrong result. We couldn't figure it out, so we turned to extremely predatory database company's tech support. We were paying for it, so we used it. However, we were using Red Hat Linux, something which was relatively new for extremely predatory database company at that time. We contacted extremely predatory database company and explained the issue, sharing the query. They asked us what version of Red Hat we were running, and when we replied, they informed us that support was only available for Red Hat Advanced Server (FCK). So we spent a lot of time and money setting that up and moving our database to it. The problem still existed. We contacted extremely predatory database company and explained the issue, sharing the query. They asked us what version of Red Hat Advanced Server we were running, and when we replied, they informed us that support was only available for version X, I don't recall the number. FCK. So we spent a lot of time and money setting that up and moving our database to it. The problem still existed. We contacted extremely predatory database company and explained the issue, sharing the query. They asked us what version of Red Hat Advanced Server we were running, and when we replied, they informed us that support was only available for version X, release Y. FCK. So we spent a lot of time and money setting that up and moving our database to it. The problem still existed. We contacted extremely predatory database company and explained the issue, sharing the query. They asked us what version of Red Hat Advanced Server we were running, and when we replied, they informed us that it was a known bug. FCK. So we spent a lot of time and money setting up PostgreSQL and the problem went away. I work as a biomedical technician, maintaining all the medical equipment in a hospital. We work on many things, but we all work on medical patient weight scales. Most scales nowadays are very accurate and keep their accuracy for quite some time, needing only a calibration check every year. Every so often we get a call requesting their scale be calibrated because it is definitely out of calibration, as they say. So I haul 100 pounds, 45.36 kilograms, of medical grade calibration weights over for a quick calibration check, and 10 times out of 10, it is within calibration. When I report my findings to the end users, I often get the same response. Someone throws a quick frown. Because they used themselves as the weight reference point. I am fairly certain the requester's train of thought prior to calling was, but my scale at home says. But I can't stop the inevitable process of hurt feelings. Approximately 2-3 years ago, I was working as an on-site technician for a tech support company when I was assigned a job at a medical clinic. The owner of the business had expressed concern over the slow performance and reliability issues of the clinic's computers, but was hesitant to replace them. Upon arriving at the clinic, I was greeted by one of the doctors who informed me that the clinic's owner would be returning shortly. The doctor showed me behind the front counter, where I saw about 4 computers, all running Windows XP. But then, my attention was caught by another computer, a yellow, previously beige, one, running Windows 98. I knew then that this job was not going to be an easy one. I had a conversation with the doctor regarding the clinic's computer system. So, these are the new computers, the doctor said, pointing to the Windows XP machines. And these over here, he continued, gesturing to the Windows 98 computers, are the old computers. Therefore our medical database software. The new computers are for everything else, like email, internet, word processing, etc. The doctor then invited me into his office to show me the setup, which was similar to the setup in all of the other doctors' offices. The computers in the office consisted of an old Windows 98 computer and a new Windows XP computer. The doctor explained that when the clinic upgraded to the new computers, around 2008, the medical software did not work, so they had to keep the old computers as well. At this point, the clinic's owner returned and introduced himself. He mentioned that all of the staff had been complaining about the computers and that previous technicians had told him they could not fix the system. The owner then showed me the server room, which was a small, dusty room filled with a disorganized mess of cables and outdated equipment. On some shelves there was a switch with a mess of cables coming from holes in the walls and ceiling, no patch panel, just terminated and plugged into the switch, and an ancient D-Link wireless router. And then I saw the server, an old compact server from the mid-1990s, connected to a CRT monitor, keyboard, and mouse, all on the floor. The server ran Windows NT 4.0. I explained to the owner that the ancient system should be removed and replaced with a more modern software solution, but the owner felt that the software was too expensive and that the current system worked fine for them. He just wanted it fixed. As a temporary solution, I suggested building two separate networks to separate the old computers, and not connecting it to the internet. I got a proper gigabit switch, the old one was actually a hub, for the new computers, and kept the old 98 systems connected to the hub. The ISP-supplied modem was also a router, which then connected to the D-Link router so that was a double net. I threw the D-Link router in the trash and connected the switch to the ISP modem router. The server, which was an old compact server from the mid-1990s, needed to be accessed by both the old and new computers. Luckily it had a second unused NIC, so I connected one to the legacy computer network and set up the spare one for the new network. When I logged into the server I didn't need to ask the client for the password, it was written on a sticker attached to the side of the server. Nothing surprised me at this point. When I logged on I found that there was no backup solution. I asked the client about this and assured me he had a backup. He found a pile of CDs and handed them to me. One of these will be the backup. It turns out that the backups were just the Windows installation images and some Symantec ghost images for the operating systems and software. I found one disk labeled Database Backup, 2015. This server acted as a domain controller, file server, as well as the database for the medical software. I explained the backup was so outdated it was worthless. He admitted the last person who knew how to do them left years ago. I asked if that was in 2015, and he said that sounded about right. I figured out how to back up the medical database and burned it onto a blank CD I found in the pile in the event the hard drive fails. I reimaged all of the virus-ridden XP computers with the ghost backups I found, done by whomever set up the system in 2008. All I needed to do was rejoin them to the NT domain and they worked. Although the system was working better than before, mainly due to the hub being replaced with a proper switch as well as the virus is gone, I explained to the owner that the Windows XP machines needed to be replaced with modern computers, or at least upgraded to Windows 10, and a new server was necessary as the old one was incompatible with Windows 10 clients. As far as I can tell there is no way to make Windows 10 join a Windows NT4 domain. I also told him the network cables needed to be replaced and terminated properly with a patch panel, and wall outlets. My plan was to get a new server and set up a new domain controller and virtualize the NT server for the database software. I could then upgrade the Core 2 Duo computers to Windows 10 until the client could afford new computers. The owner agreed but said that the funds for these replacements would not be available in his budget until the next year. I reiterated that this was a temporary fix, and the server needed to be replaced now. It was running ancient mechanical hard drives and there was no backups. If it fails then he would lose all of his customers' medical records as well as the company's files. I told him he needed to find a way to make it happen as soon as possible. He said he would call next week to sort it out. I also explained that the Windows 98 computers needed to go as well. He said he would think about it, but didn't realistically see that happening anytime soon. He went on about how he had spent tens of thousands on this software, even though that was 25 plus years ago. I got the client quote for a cheap server which would do what he needed it to do, and I left the problem in his hands, but he never got back us, at least not for several years. Late last year we heard from the same medical clinic. It turns out he unsurprisingly didn't take my advice to upgrade the system and I was sent out to this client once again. I will tell that story next time. Way too many years ago already to my liking, I was called in to troubleshoot an issue for a customer. They were running a file server on NT4 and performance was really bad. I went in and at the admin's desktop I did some file copy operations and indeed, Everything coming from just that specific server was slow. Went into the server room, which was just a small room with a desk on which the servers were standing. No rack-mounted systems. Unlocked the display and went through the logs but couldn't find anything. But the admin came in and said, "What have you done? Things are running smooth again." Baffled by this, I went back to check with him, walked a few hallways to his desk and then did a new test, but things were slow again. Walked back to the server and just as I was running through the logs again, I got a call from the admin, that things were fast again. Back to his desk, but nope, slow. Back to the server room and then just before I walked in, I noticed through the small window next to the door, that the screensaver on the file server had come on. Some wild 3D pipes thing or so. Walking into the server room, the door always hit the wobbly desk, enough to move the mouse a little to cancel the screensaver. I called the admin to ask if it was fast again and indeed. Then waited for the screensaver to pop up again and the system immediately became slow again. Issue solved. Head of HR contacts us saying her laptop keeps shutting down for no reason, frequently, right in the middle of her doing things. I go to her office and sit down, start typing away, moving the mouse around, wiggling the laptop, unplugging it back in, but whatever I do, it just keeps going. I tell her let me know if it happens again, I'll be waiting right down the hall. As soon as I sit down, she calls me to say it shut down again. I find a time when I can take it to my cube for a while, and I just fire up every application I can, all at once, load up large files, run load tests for an hour or so, still just fine. I take it back to her office and swap out the power adapter and dock. As soon as I get back to my cube, she contacts me to say it's shut down again. I'm at a loss. I figure I'll try swapping her hard drive into another laptop tomorrow. That night, I'm lying in bed. I do not know why it came to my mind, but it suddenly struck me that these laptops use a magnet in the lid to detect when the lid is shut and trigger the system to go to sleep. A wonder. The next day, guess what? I go into her office and see she's wearing a beady bracelet. I ask if those are magnets? Yes, it's for their magical healing properties. I have her rest her wrists on the laptop. It goes to sleep. I explain that she has to not wear her magic bracelets while using the computer,